Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. Welcome back to episode 494 of the Man That Can Project podcast. Today's guest is Michael Ramsey. Now, Michael is co-founder of the fastest growing studio Pilates in Australia, Strong Pilates. In this episode, we dive into some great stuff around building an incredible brand that people want to be a part of, how you can think outside of the box to grow your business in the fitness industry and just add value to people's lives. We also discuss how at times for Michael, his happiness has been linked to how well his business is going. And I know that's something I relate to, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to, as well as how he manages his work-life balance, stress, the importance of having a powerful network, and what it really took for him to be one of the most successful franchisees in the F45 model, and what made him step out and jump into his own Strong Pilates model. Now, this is not to be missed. So if you get value from this, you know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe with people that you know will get value from it, because here's what happens. Whatever platform you're listening on right now, you may be listening, but you may not have subscribed. When you subscribe, you're going to get notified right away when a new episode comes out, as well as it helps me bring on bigger and better guests every week as the subscribers continue to grow. So not only is it helping you get those episodes quick, smart, you're also helping me continue to grow the show. So I appreciate you for that. One other thing I want to let you know about is the breakthrough experience. You've already taken action on becoming a better version of yourself by investing your ears to listen to these podcasts and upskill and grow. And I want to reward you by introducing you, one, to our breakthrough experience. But if you hang around long enough, I'm going to offer you a 20% discount code to getting started on that. Now, the breakthrough experience is designed to help men like you who want to continue working towards career satisfaction without sacrificing your health and also your relationships. And in that, we go through the frameworks that you need in order to do that. Because as a business owner myself, and someone who's created a multiple six-figure business, I know what it's like to feel like you need to sacrifice everything to go all in on creating the life that you want. But I'm also living proof that you don't need to do that. And we give you that framework, as well as some other things where you get access to 12 of our group calls with our incredible community of like-minded men, which is just so invaluable. You get lifetime access to the private Facebook group, and you get a 12-week strength program, because as we've mentioned, fitness is an important part to you achieving all the goals in other areas of your life that you want. So if you'd like to take action on that breakthrough experience today, you get a 20% code as a valued listener. It's TMTCP, so the Man That Can Project. Okay, TMTCP to get that 20% off. So once you get to the checkout, you'll be able to claim that one. So that's enough from me. Let's dive into today's episode with Michael Ramsey. The Man That Can Project podcast, a podcast empowering career-driven men to live more fulfilling lives. We are here to challenge your beliefs, redefine success, and talk about the important stuff in a relatable way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. My name's Lachlan Stuart. Let's get into it. How's your week been anyway?
Mate, pretty crazy, to be honest. I'd love to say it's been an awesome week, but just work has been insane, and then juggling the little one. I've just got a little 5-month-old. It's just been one of those weeks, hey? So I'm glad it's Friday.
Dude, have you got much on for the weekend then?
Mate, I'm checking out a wedding venue tomorrow, just in a winery in Yarra Valley. But other than that, I'm going to try and just get some Z's, I think.
Yeah, nice. It looks like you've been extremely busy. I was listening to a few podcasts. I've listened to a lot of your podcasts. I think it's epic. Like from a business perspective, I'm learning a heap. But then I was like, I want to hear more about your story and stuff. So I've been listening to a few ones from 2022 and all of that sort of stuff, mate. And what you're doing and how you're managing it is, well, I'm excited to find out for one, but I don't know how the fuck you're doing it. It's pretty inspiring. But let's we'll dive into it. Hey, I appreciate your time, and I understand you're a busy man and got a lot on, so I do value your time and appreciate getting to connect. And mate, I as you saw on Instagram, I went and hit a session last night at the Fortitude Valley gym. Holy shit! You don't want to be that guy in a room where you're complaining about things that you look at and you're like, that's got to be easy. It's, a few pulsing lunges. There's not much weights. And I was complaining. I was that guy.
Mate, yesterday's session was pretty insane as well. Did you do that? Was it the upper body build?
Yeah, the upper body build. Dude.
Yeah.
It's...
I did it as well, mate, and I was absolutely cooked. So for a first timer for yourself, how you feeling?
Mate, I'm sore my hips, I saw my biceps. Like, I think I thought I was being smart because the weights that I chose was like 8, 6, and 4, which was pretty much what everyone else in the room is doing. And the lady's like, sure you don't want to try heavier? I was like, I think this is going to buckle me, so I'll be right there. And even that weight buckled me doing the curls and stuff. And I was like, I trained every day, like lifting heavy barbells and whatnot, and it still busted me. So it was good.
Yeah, mate, it's a real different stimulus, isn't it, compared to, I've grown up lifting weights. I started with your standard chest tries, back buys, legs and shoulders, that whole sort of 3-day split. But, mate, it's just so different, and you think you're fit, but you go through some of those classes and you're really not.
Mate, it definitely sorts you out. I was doing those glute bridges, my hamstrings were burning, but I've recommended it to a few of my mates, my business partner. I'm like, we're going to go back in there next week and just get destroyed. Because I've done reformers Pilates before, and I guess we'll go back to the beginning for you of how you co-founded Strong and even what you were doing with F45 prior to that. But on the Pilates front, there's always, for me, there's been a bit of a, not so much stigma, but I've never really seen it as a valuable tool. And then I started doing bro lattes, they called it, to get a few of us lads in there. And you've got all these burly blokes rolling in, and within 5 minutes we're, complaining, my ass is burning, my hips are burning, everything's burning. And it's just like a phenomenal workout. And then I rolled into Strong yesterday. I was looking at these row formers, as you call it. And I was like, this is interesting. Like, you got rows, and then they're like, yeah, you're going to get some dumbbells as well. I was like, this is perfect. And the chin up looking thing, like how you do you hit everything.
Yeah, mate, that chin up that you do on the row former, I get better lat activation than I would like a lat pull down. That's my all-time favorite exercise on the row former. Pretty incredible, isn't it?
Literally, like one piece of machinery. And for me, I was the same when I was doing the single arm. I'm like, I need this for my shoulder activation for a few injuries that I've got to deal with. And I didn't realize how, well, I probably was aware of it actually, but how poorly I do activate certain muscles when I'm doing chins or lat pull downs, etc. So to have that, and I recommended it to my mother-in-law. I was like, this would be perfect for you because you're always on the walker, but now you can get your strength training in, a bit of bloody interval work, and also the important Pilates stuff as well.
Yeah, mate, it's probably the one workout I find that I leave feeling really good. Like, my body feels good. When you do a set of heavy squats, or you could do box jumps or whatever, you feel it in your knees. You're always like, you just know your lower back. Strong, and particularly just Reform Pilates, it's one of those workouts that you just feel good afterwards. You get DOMs and stuff, obviously, but yeah, it's timely with I think it's International Pilates Day on Sunday, so it's good.
Mate, perfect. But let's go back to the beginning. Yeah. So you founded back in 2019, Strong? It was 2019. Can you give us...
Yeah, mate.
So I was going to say, can you give us a bit of a rundown of how you got to that point? Obviously, you've been in franchising before, because not only have you created something, it's one of the fastest growing franchises in the fitness industry, and it's turning it on its head. And I've tried it now, so I know why from experience. But the whole franchising model and business thing is what I'm really excited to get into as well, and how you've created such a community in what appears to be such a short amount of time. So can we go back to the beginning of F45 and how that all played out, what got you into it, and then obviously into Strong?
Yeah, so I opened my first F45 studio in 2015. I was 26 years old. And that was probably my second run at fitness. I'd always been, I think I was a PT when I was like 17 or 18. I did my course really young, started lifting weights. And mate, I even went to uni. I did a bachelor's of marketing, a master's of commerce. I was always a PT through that time, but I ended up just hating the fitness industry. I don't know why. I think it was the one-on-one stuff I just really didn't enjoy. I love group fitness, and that's ironically now that's all I do. And then when I found F45, my business partner at the time, he said, "Oh mate, we were working at a nightclub together, believe it or not." He said, "Mate, I've found this thing. I think it's amazing. I think it's going to blow up." So we jumped on a flight, went to Bondi, tried F45 there, and this is right at the start. There was probably 6 or 7 studios in Australia, and just the fucking the atmosphere, and there was a DJ, and there's 50 people in the room, and it was just incredible. And I'm like, this is what the fitness industry has been missing for so long. It was just very different to I know Les Mills pumps and those kind of things have been around forever. Yeah, but this had a bit more depth to it, and so we loved it. So we straight away we negotiated two franchises, Port Melbourne, South Yarra. We had fuck all money, so we had to negotiate those two for free. We promised to launch the Melbourne market, so we got 2 AFL players, one who was a Brownlow medalist, one that was an up and comer. And we gave them equity in the business and negotiated 2 free territories.
How did that just seems mind blowing that they gave you 2 free territories. Obviously, you had the leverage and stuff, but you were 26 at the time as well. It's pretty mind blowing to even be ballsy enough to try and negotiate that.
Well, my business partner is 15 years older than me, so although I do a lot of the talking, he probably gets the respect before I do. So, at the time, we just sold it to them, and we over delivered on what we sold. We were on the Footy Show, we were all over the Herald Sun, all over the media. We effectively launched the brand not only in Victoria but Australia, and that first studio in Port Melbourne ended up winning #1 studio globally 3 years running. And that was based solely off revenue. So, the numbers we were doing, we're running classes of 72 people. It was turning over, 1.2 mil a year. It was just crazy. And it just blew up. And then from there, we bought another F45 and we just reinvested, and we bought another one. We bought a struggling one for 90 grand, and then a year later sold it for 430. We bought 2 in Darwin, and Darwin was an incredible market. That was a marketing decision where the catchment in Darwin was 140,000 people, and there was this one territory in the city. You would see there's a bloody F45 on every corner. So we just saw this as wow, we've got a monopoly here. So we ended up opening 2 there eventually.
So off the back of your success with F45, obviously, I'm sure the success you had and the credibility you had from that moved you into strong, and obviously it assisted with growth potentially, and I won't assume that. I'll ask that in a second. But when you started the F45s to get the footballers on board, to get on the footy shows and all that sort of stuff, where did that leverage come for you?
I've always been quite a social person, not so much now, but going back to when me and my business partner were running a nightclub, my job was to look after, your celebrities and things like that. I'd fling them a bottle of vodka and make sure we get in the paper, all that sort of thing. And just making those connections and just being, really sort of connection and community focused for so many years. It was quite easy for me to say, to my mates that are in the media or that are athletes or whatever, just to say, hey, come in and do a post and come and train. And the offset was because F45 was so new and different and cool, they all just loved it and fell in love with it. And then we just managed to build this huge community of really influential people that just lifted up the brand. And yeah, but it's good. We've always been really, we've just behaved really well in terms of business. Like, we've never burnt people. And just over the years, you know, things come back to you. And I just think being a good person is a huge part of it as well.
I was very interested to find that out because obviously leverage and having endorsements and all of that sort of stuff is important in business, and especially building a solid brand as well. It definitely helps you fast track some of that success as well, which is an important part. But then moving forward to Strong, like, how did you even get involved in Pilates in the first place? Coming from the training background, did you ever have that stigma or perception around it that it was more for females rather than the blokes?
Yeah, always thought it's for the girls. I never thought I'd get into it, but it just happened that I had to start doing reformer Pilates. I was shooting an Adidas commercial for a new runner, and the brief was like jump over shopping trolleys, and because I used to be like a plyometric guy.
Yeah.
And I broke my ankle in the first 10 seconds of the shoot. So I was in Sydney, went to the hospital, came back to Melbourne. It took ages, had a ligament reconstruction and all sorts of shit. But then had to start rehab, and that's when I started on a reformer. And this sort of goes back to what we were talking about at the start. Like, it was the first time I trained where I would finish a workout and I would actually feel stronger. Like, I felt better within myself, even just walking and moving, and just felt better from reformer Pilates. And so from there, like, I fell in love with it. The problem was I always felt like I had to go for a run or do a HIIT workout or whatever to feel like I'd really achieved something within the workout. So the low intensity aspect is something I didn't like about it. And then my housemate at the time showed me this reformer on Instagram, this studio that was in California. So I was just like, fuck it, I've sold my businesses. I want to try something else. And we just jumped on a plane, went straight to Newport Beach, and jumped in a class, and I tried this reformer, this half rower, half reformer machine. And it was the craziest, toughest workout I'd ever done. But also I got that stimulus and those endorphins that I really needed as well. And then my business partner flew up from F45. So he flew up, he tried it, and we were just like, we got to get this back to Australia. So yeah, we negotiated the exclusive rights to the machine across Australia, New Zealand, Asia, and Canada. We now have the rights globally, which is great.
So with exclusive rights, does that mean there will be no competition? So you guys are the guys?
Yeah, they've had two studios in the States before that haven't worked, and it wasn't until I did a bit of analysis on why it wasn't working that we realised we needed to create a brand called Strong, and create, you know, levels of customer experience that would trump anything in the market. So just doubling down on things like music, lights, the fit out to some extent, the whole customer process from check-in through till they finish a workout. Everything had to be refined, but mate, I would put a lot of it down to brand and just throwing the brand out there. Like, not having, I'll give you an example. 18 months ago, we had 3 studios. Today, we've got 33. We weren't able to scale without, like, we didn't have the financials, the history, any runs on the board aside from our F45 journey. And so we had to create this really epic brand, and we just threw the brand out there. You know, my whole thing is people need to see it 5, 6, 7, 10 times. So we're on social media, we're doing PR, we're doing guerrilla marketing, there's so much referral stuff that's happening, and people are just hearing about us everywhere. And that's what's really kind of got us to today, I think.
It's interesting to hear that approach around it, because you definitely have scaled fast. I think I was reading somewhere you've got like 100 more confirmed locations or something like that, which is, how do you feel about that? Are you nervous, excited? What's sort of going through your mind about that?
Yeah, we've got 130 confirmed. I think it's actually closer to 150 now. We're in London. We launch in Singapore in June. We launch in Canada in August. We'll launch in the US in August. But it's scary. And as you scale, it just gets more difficult, and there's more pressures, and there's more wages and expenses, and it's quite nerve wracking. And there's times where I've had to check myself and figure out why I'm actually doing this, and go back to the why. And there's been times where I just haven't been enjoying the process, and I've had to, again, figure out, what am I actually trying to achieve here? Is it open 300 studios, or is it to be my best self and enjoy this actual sort of ride that I'm on? So that's taken a little bit of work. I recently got a business coach / psychologist where I'm doing a lot of these exercises, which has been incredible for me, actually like life-changing. But yeah, mate, there's a lot of pressure, I'll put it that way.
It's cool to know that even obviously someone in your position, and you definitely have created a strong brand. I've been, as I mentioned at the start of this, I've been wanting to reach out to you for a while, and then, a few things worked out well and we had the opportunity to connect. And the brand is what drew me in. And it also, like, from a bloke's, for me personally, like, made me go, Pilates is actually cool now, which sounds weird to say that, but it fucking is. It's a good workout. But now, because of the brand you've established, I was reading an article yesterday or the day before where it's like a lot of people aren't buying stuff so much on how good a product is anymore. And I'm not saying your product isn't good, but like, brand is 80% of the reason why people are joining gyms or buying things now. And it's definitely something that a lot of people overlook, or a lot of businesses are overlooking, just how important it is to show up on the socials and do all of those things as well. So what are some of those, when you were starting out and establishing your brand, how did you sort of get clear on how you wanted to create that brand for, I guess, for people who are going, what the fuck is a brand, and how to really start there?
Yeah, the name itself we stumbled on. I bought one word on Instagram, Strong. I bought that handle as an investment for $3,500 like 5 years ago.
I heard you talking about that. I was like, and also, where do you get the mindset to go, I'm going to start snapping up digital real estate, like Instagram handles and stuff? Like, that's just wizard work.
Yeah, I don't even know, mate. I just did it.
Paid off.
It'd be worth an absolute fucking fortune now. I'm really protective of it. There's not a lot of people that have got the password.
Oh yeah, two-factor on everything for that.
Yeah, but yeah, and the name just resonated. Like, the way the workout makes us feel. We see men as a massive opportunity for our market, and still, like, to be completely transparent, 89% of our members are female. But I have been to classes where, 50% are male, and that for me is a massive win. So we've got a lot of work to do, but I just see it as this huge opportunity. So yeah, it was a lot about that, creating a brand that was completely gender neutral, identifying what it is that we're good at and why. And at the end of the day, and you wouldn't have tried we use a bike erg as well. We've got, you either ride or row. I don't think Fortitude Valley have the bikes just yet, but yes, it's a bike with effectively a very tough resistance based, Pilates. But what we are is we're heroing low impact training. And that's what we sort of figured out. We need to go to people who have got, the sore knees, the sore lower backs, people who have been doing high intensity training for years. that still want to push themselves, but that still want to get a good workout and a massive calorie burn. So that was the big challenge, was how do we sort of position ourselves in that market and not just go for people that are doing Pilates and want a little bit more. And originally, like, that's what we thought was going to happen, but we're getting people from everywhere, CrossFit, Pilates, spin, running. Like, we get people that come from everywhere that just want to do something different that's low impact and safe, but it's also really fucking hard as well. So yeah, mate, it's very much developed over the sort of 3 years that we've been running, but there's a lot that goes into that sort of that process of building a brand and identifying who you are, and then how to actually get it out to a market in a way that's, I guess, enticing and exciting.
Yeah. Throughout your years of franchising, then obviously being a franchise owner and also, I guess, a creator, if that's how we're going to separate them, what would be some of the biggest mistakes you've seen or experienced as a result of that have impacted your business?
Mistakes by creating a franchise, like mistakes that we've made? Yeah, great question. Maybe trying to be too much at times, trying to, and this particularly goes down to programming. We do a little bit of strength and conditioning. We do predominantly Pilates, and we do sort of some HIIT training, and we regroup it all together. But sometimes getting swayed too much in one way or another. Like, strength and conditioning now is really hot. Like, there's a lot of S&C gyms opening up and almost sort of forgetting who we are and taking on too much of that side has been detrimental. For us, we made a lot of mistakes, but we also had to move quickly as well. I think when you're starting out, and we've made mistakes with some locations that we've opened that potentially weren't ready for a product like Strong, but we just had to go. Like, we just had, when it was go time, we had to go. I think you've got a little window here where, particularly in franchising, you either take off and sort of go to the moon, or you open 10 studios, 15 studios, or 5 studios, and it just doesn't happen. So there is a speed to market piece there that was super important, but I think we're in a really, really good place now.
How do you moderate, like, obviously that whole speed to market thing, and we spoke about it before, like, you're obviously feeding a lot of people and paying, there's a lot of wages, right? So the risk is quite high. How do you manage your overall well-being and stress and even relationship, fatherhood, all of that sort of stuff, life in general, while you're probably balls to the wall, doing all the stuff that you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, I guess the short answer is that I don't. And I know that, but sometimes, like, it's just hard and it sucks. I'll give you an example. Like, Tuesday, my little boy woke me up at 3:30 in the morning. I ended up working on my laptop from 3:30 and worked all the way through till 8 p.m. And I've got some people on leave in the office at the moment. My workload's a little bit higher, and it was just like, just got to suck it up. And I've certainly learnt tools, I guess, on how to be better and react to different situations. Going back to that sort of business coaching that I'm getting, and my big thing at the moment is, when I'm reacting, react as the person that I want to be, not the person that wants to open 300 studios. So now, anytime I'm dealt with like a crisis or a really sort of high stress situation, I take a breath and I think about, all right, the person that I want to be, how will they react? And that's how I react. So there's been a lot of sort of that internal work. I now, a couple of nights a week, I sit there with my partner over dinner and talk. Even if I've had the most fuck day ever, I sit there and I talk about 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I'm not a guy that's going to journal and stuff like that. So this was a way that I could do it just via conversation and say, all right, today was absolutely cooked, but here's three things that I'm really grateful for. And that's been an awesome exercise for me. And yeah, and there's things like meditation that I'm trying to now get back into, something I never have time to do, but means I probably should be doing it more. Yeah, so there's things like that.
There's a lot of those practices that sort of come in and out of your life depending on what you, I guess, want to prioritize and what you feel you need at any point in time. Because I'm the same as you, like I go through phases with meditation, then I'm like, I don't have time for it, but I probably should. But I want to put my energy and focus into other things as well. So I guess that whole management and even sitting down and talking with your partner and having the gratitudes and stuff like that are all things that are easy to be put on the wayside, especially when you're stressed and you're working towards achieving your goals. We can, I guess, almost neglect other areas of our life, which is why historically we've seen so many successful people, and let's just say men in business, for example, who have lost their health, their relationships are broken down, and their kids don't talk to them because they thought they've done everything by sacrificing those things for the benefit of their business, but you're proving that you can sort of do it all, which is cool. And you get to do it in a health industry, which is even better.
It's pretty cool. And I think it's important to remember that you're not, and before, like I would say, I don't know, it still happens now. A lot of my happiness is based off how well the business is going. And I have to remind myself that I'm also a father. You know, I've got a great partner. I've got great mates. And I'm a lot more than my business, and that's just something that it's a constant battle because it does. You have a few shit weeks at work, and your mood is tied to your business, and because that's who you are. You know, you're your business, and but I've had to do a lot of work to remind myself that I'm not just that. Yeah, mate. And another big thing that I do, which I found is probably the most important thing, is just training every day and sweating and going, whether it's a strong class or whatever else, lifting weights, whatever. It is an absolute lifesaver. And I just noticed a few times I was getting too busy and neglecting training and, you know, opening a bottle of red at night or whatever, or partying on the weekends because I wanted to forget about my shit week. And what always brings me back is training. And now it's just like a non-negotiable for me.
And you guys have also, and that's one thing I forgot to mention before, one thing that I loved about like the whole experience last night when I went in, the instructor Jess was like, obviously met you at the front door, showed me all around and helped me get comfortable with it. But then you also have the screens there that are showing the movements, and this is obviously off the business, but I think from a business standpoint, it's brilliant because when I've done Pilates in the past, you're sort of like not working out because you're trying to turn around and look at the instructor and go like, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing? Whereas like if the instructor's, you know, obviously walking back and forward, checking people's form, you can then look at the screens that have the prompts and all of that sort of stuff up there around where you're at with the workout. So from a business standpoint, that makes your clients feel more comfortable. We get a better workout, but then also as someone who the experience was next level, like because I didn't have to, you know, stand up off my machine as much to follow the instructor. I could just look at the TV screen in front of me.
And when we brought them in, our conversion from trials to members went through the roof because a lot of blokes have never done Pilates. They see this cool brand, but before, like we operated for probably 4 or 5 months without the TVs. And then when we brought them in, it was just a game changer. But that was tech we had to create ourselves. Like it's not like F45 where you hit play and the instructor can leave. We actually created it's almost a PowerPoint presentation. So the instructor still controls the timings of each class. They're able to do it, you know, in their own stead. It took a lot of development, and it's one of these things, and it happens all the time. It's like, do we put money into this area? Do we put money into this area? And when you're a startup and you've got limited funds, it's quite tough to make those decisions. But geez, I'm glad we went in that direction.
What were some of those tough financial decisions? Because obviously when you think about business, anyone can launch a business, but if and you can make it as pretty and as exciting as possible. But if you aren't getting sales, everything else doesn't matter, even how good your service could be, and obviously the marketing. But for you, looking at the allocated funds, what were, I guess, the main things for you to invest your money into to make it a successful franchise?
Yeah, education is massive. We spend so much money on sending instructors through academy, sending master trainers from state to state, country to country, and training them up. And we fail a lot of them. Our standards are really high, which is tough for us because then we don't have instructors. Mate, we spend so much money on education. It is insane, and we're probably, and I don't want to cry like, we've got it harder than a lot of other brands, but quite often, a trainer with a Cert 3 and 4 in fitness can walk in and take a class, whereas we need everyone to be qualified and strong qualified. So that was huge, like just the education piece. And not only are they learning Pilates, but they're learning performance rowing, they're learning progressive overload and strength training. It's massive, and we try and condense it into like this sort of 2-week course. But yeah, that's been massive for us. And then a lot of the decision making around marketing is a really tough one. It's like, for instance, we have a 2% marketing levy, so every studio pays us 2% their revenue. That money that we get, we actually spend 5 times what we get from the franchisee on marketing. So, a lot of franchises would just spend those allocated funds, but we, at a loss, spend so much on just getting the brand out there, making it enticing for people, and just trying to attempt to make it a household name, which is sort of the end goal. But yeah, they're those sort of two key things, I think.
I was going to ask that. So the end goal is obviously to be a household name globally.
Yeah, it's a really hard one because, I mean, we've already had offers for investment and to be bought out and all these sort of things. And to be honest, we're sort of just keeping the door open for whatever. But right now it's just important that we can open quality studios that are profitable and the members are loving the workout. And that's sort of like, as opposed to now having this big goal, we're just more focused on, yes, we need to open X amount of studios, but we want them to be quality studios. We want the experience to be quality. So we've kind of actually gotten rid of that huge goal and just narrowed it down to, okay, let's make sure that, our pre-sale average is around 200 members now. So, the majority of studios open with 200 members and they're profitable from day one. Our average revenue as a brand is higher than that of Exponentials, which is a huge company in the US that have got like Rumble and BFT and Club Pilates. Our average revenue is higher than theirs now. And just from us just narrowing our focus onto almost micro, studio by studio, it's allowed us to be high performers financially. And then sometimes we go too hard in that area and we need to focus back on the consumer and the programming and diversifying workouts and progressing people and things like that. So it's always this crazy kind of balancing act of sort of, where we should be focusing.
Thanks for sharing that. And it's awesome to hear that the success that you've had as well, you don't necessarily focus so much on the big goal, because quite often you hear people saying you've got to have this massive, and I've been guilty of it myself, of saying you've got to have this big vision, this big goal, and that's what you've got to be building towards. But while you still have an idea of where you want to go, you're really giving a lot of attention to the milestones along the way in each studio, which I think is a really good way to look at things, because you're going to have more success and more wins along the way with that. What made you, obviously, you mentioned at the beginning, franchising, one of the reasons why you got out of F45 was there were things that you didn't have control over, obviously wanting to keep it to a brand. What made you then decide, yourself and your co-founder decide that was the business model for you guys, as opposed to, just opening up at multiple locations, etc.?
Yeah, I think we had the best possible apprenticeship at F45. You know, you've got this brand that's completely changed the market, that's blown up. And we also learned, because they grew so quick, we learned a lot what not to do. And we said this for 5 years. We're like, we should do this better. We should do this better. We can do this. We can focus more on onboarding, and we can focus more on education and all these sort of things. And it was just a real natural progression and decision. We are really ambitious, and for us to scale, we thought that's what we had to do. And like, in all honesty, I wouldn't recommend it for many people, if any. Like, our break even as a company now is around 60 to 65 studios. So we're not even breaking even yet. When you franchise, you need scale and mass. And it is a hard slog, and you're dealing with, you know, right now I've got 33 different personality types as owners. They all have sub-communities in their members, and everyone's opinionated, and everyone has things like programming is completely subjective, right? One person can say they loved last night's program, and one person can say that was terrible. And these are the things that, when you grow, are very challenging, and you need very thick skin, and you need to be smart with your decision making. It is fucking hard. I'm just being honest here. Like, it's something that I'm glad we chose that path, but it's not something that I would highly recommend to someone unless they're ready to just put away, you know, 5 to 10 years of their life and pop it.
Fuck. I know. Never really thought about the program perspective. I just remember when I did CrossFit, and they would go to like mayhem programming, and then everyone would be like, you know, half the room would be like, I fucking love it. The other half's like, no, worst programming ever. And then they'd change it, and you'd never please everyone. So to have that at scale for you would be something that I don't think I would want to deal with. That's for sure.
No, I mean, it's also, on the other hand, the greatest thing that I've ever done, the most challenging thing, but it is incredible. And like, we had our first conference in Bali in October last year, and it was amazing. I got to spend, you know, 4 days with all the franchisees, and the vibe was incredible. We all trained. We worked on educational pieces. It was so good, but it's just it just comes with it all. Like, it's always going to be tough. It's always going to be rewarding. But I think, you know, personally, I'm just learning so much. You know, I look at how I was 2 years ago, and I used to jump on podcasts and thought that I knew what I was talking about, but I had no idea. Like now, and I'm sure in 2 years' time, I'll look back at where I am now and just be like, you know, you had so much more to learn. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I know there's going to be blokes who are listening to this episode, and, you know, we've mentioned you've run successful F45s. You now created a huge brand, and you're doing incredible stuff with that. We also dropped in that you were buying, you bought the Strong name and all these weird sort of, I'd say weird random investment opportunities. There's going to be people going like, how the fuck does an individual like Michael hear about all this sort of stuff? Where's his drive and ambition, or just outside of the box thinking? Because the whole business you've set up now has turned the fitness industry on its head. The Instagram name that I mentioned there as well, that for me blew my mind when I heard it on another podcast. I was like, who the hell's buying Instagram names as an investment? How do those opportunities present them to themselves, or where is that outside the box thinking come from for you, Michael?
Yeah, great question. I'm not really sure. I think it really is all about the people you surround yourself with, and having, you know, I was quite close with the F45 founder, for instance, and he used to inspire me to want to do this and want to open my own franchise. I have a lot of friends in tech who are quite entrepreneurial and give me insight, and it's the people around me that I've managed to connect with that I probably take for granted now, having these people in my back pocket. I would say they're the ones that have broadened my horizons. Because, mate, before this, I was working in oil and gas as a marketing manager. I hated my 9 to 5, even though I was only in there I was the laziest fucker. I was in there from like 10. But I just didn't understand that there was more, and that I could have more. And it's just, I think it's the people around you and getting in those circles and talking and being intuitive and listening to podcasts and educating yourself. And mate, it all plays a part.
You've definitely, mate, and I want to respect your time. You've shared so much, and I've taken away so much value from this, from things around obviously networking and the importance of the people that you surround yourself with, obviously for the support, but also opportunities that can come your way, but then also making quick decisions. You mentioned throughout the franchising, there was times you made bad decisions, good decisions, but the thing was just you need to roll with it and move quickly. And I think a lot of that is really important for people to take away and start thinking about in their own life. What's their network like? Are they holding off decisions and procrastinating on taking control of their life? And also that shift you had where you can really create more from your life. So for me, there's some big takeaways that I've had from this conversation. And mate, quickly, where can people follow you guys? Obviously, you've got tons of locations. I'll put all the website addresses and whatnot. But for those thinking about, one, potentially even franchising, if that's an option for people. Secondly, doing some strong Pilates, and also just following you as well along your journey.
Yeah, just jump on @strong on the Instagram handle. And then all the info with Strong is in there to book a class, where the locations are. If you want to buy a franchise, you can follow my Instagrams @RamsLegit, which I hate, but I got verified. They gave me a blue tick, and I couldn't change it. So
solid,
I'm stuck with
set in stone.
Yeah, I'm stuck with this. But yeah, it's all there. It's all there.
Awesome, mate. Well, once again, thank you so much for your time. And as I said, it's great to connect. And I'm sure, I told Jess I'd be back in there next week to hit some more Pilates up and take my business partner in there as well. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to continuing to follow you guys turning the fitness industry on its head. Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time. Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.